Top of the morning to you. I hope you're all fine and dandy and staying ahead of the game. Remember, it is a game and each one of us must play our part. Hope you're all well. Thank you for joining me again on another recording. I make these recordings in the hope that folk who are ready for them will take to heart and take to mind the messages that, or the teaching, or the revelations, or the discoveries, this research that I'm trying to put across. I get a lot of comments, a lot of interaction on Facebook, and what I'm going to do is take a post for YouTube, for those who don't have Facebook, and take this Facebook post and I'm going to expand upon it a little. But before I do that, I want to talk about a few things about myself and how I analyse things and how I come to conclusions, because I get a lot of people saying, wow, how do you retain all this? How do you learn all this? Where do you find all this information? And yeah, well, for me, we're going to be looking here in this post at the hippocampus, and the hippocampus is a very important part of the brain. And for me, I have had a condition all my life which affects my hippocampus, and that is onset temporal lobe epilepsy and partial lobe epilepsy, temporal lobe epilepsy. I take grand mal seizures and petit mal seizures and have done all my life, so I'm used to it, and I'm actually able to control the amount of epileptic seizures or instants that occur in my life just by a healthy balance and deep meditation really within myself and trying to eat the best I can. But I have been plagued in a way by electrical interference in my brain all my life, and now that I've reached the age of 53, not just recently realised, but now that I am at the age of 53, I'm aware of my cognitive abilities and how my brain operates. And it's quite unique, and for anybody who knows me, they will know that my brain is quite unique. People have asked me to make a video of everything I know. People have left comments on YouTube. People have asked me to put it out plainly to them. But anyone who follows my work will know that I could be studying, and for those who know me personally, I could be studying several topics at any one time, because my brain and its overactive form of epilepsy, which affects the electromagnetic fields within my temporal lobe, it allows me, that condition has allowed me to absorb audibly, by audio versions and visual, in a different way from how other people perceive and analyse things. And I could be listening to 3-4 different audio books. I could be reading several different topics, whether it's language, whether it's asterisms, whether it's mythology, whether it's esoteric understanding of the anatomy of the body, and how Gray's medical book, or how the Latin languages, or how the ancient Picts or the ancient Druids. I could be looking at anything, and multiple things in a day. And people who know me know this, and that it's not because of intelligence, because people will know it's not about intelligence. It's just the way that my brain is wired. So today I'm going to take or try to take a little portion of how my brain operates and how it pigeonholes certain things, and try and show in this instance how the zodiacal houses, and in this case it's Sagittarius we're going to look at in this post. And I'm going to look at each of the 12 zodiacal houses and describe what each part represents esoterically, and to the anatomy, the physical body, and to the mind, and to the schools of thought which came before us. These things are also written within our DNA, and these things are naturally encoded within us. And I suppose when your brain is wired in a different way and sees things in a more rational and logical and fundamentally precise way, it makes it much easier to wade through the nonsense as such, because I'm absorbing so much information into that over electrified brain, and yeah, it makes it so difficult to try and put it all together for people to grasp it. And it's only those who are really close to me, or who see me or hear of my my talks on a regular basis that really grasp what I'm saying. But what I'm going to look at here is how our ancestors envisaged the astral sign, or the zodiac sign of Sagittarius, the archer. Let's do it this way. Our ancestors knew Sagittarius the archer as the sign that calls us to leave the carnal soul nature and the physical desires, to aim higher, to follow our true spiritual nature and path. He is depicted as a centaur, with the lower body of a horse and the torso and the upper body head of a man. They represent the lower and higher consciousness, respectively. Horse equals hippocampus, the mind. Everything which I talk about in this post can be seen in the heavens above and in the images below. They can also be understood by studying the mythologies of the gods. If I may mention here, all the Greek Roman heroes, such as Hercules, Perseus, and many others, are said to spend time with Chiron, the centaur, which is Sagittarius, during their earlier years. And as you read to the end of this post, you'll understand why. Back to Sagittarius. Each of the 12 zodiac signs, the houses, have what our ancestors called deacons, other bright stars associated with them. And yes, this is why we have churches with deacons and elders. Basically, the Catholic Church and the Biscopus, the bishops, Scopus means heaven, copied everything from our ancient star law, from the astral realm. Anyway, the 3 deacons of Sagittarius are called Lyra, the harp, Ara, the altar, Draco, the dragon. Remember, Sagittarius consists of the horse and the man. They represent the lower and higher consciousnesses. In mysticism, the horse equals wisdom or understanding. Man equals the mind, and the bow, our spiritual energy, sometimes called Om. The arrow itself represents spiritual will I am, the will I am directed. Sagittarius is mentioned in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, but most can't see it because of the religious teaching and indoctrinations. Revelation 6 verse 2. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering, and to conquer. This is describing exactly how the ancient people, our ancestors, saw Sagittarius, the archer, in the night sky. He even has a crown, Corona Australis. Psalm 58 verse 7. Let them melt away as waters which run continually, when he bendeth his bow to shoot his arrows. let them be as cut in pieces. Bendeth his bow equals building up spiritual force or tension of Om through meditation or spiritual practice. Shoot his arrows. It equals directing them to destroy the thoughts and emotions of the lower mind, that of Hades and the underworld. In the image below, the ecliptic is going through the head of the archer. The ecliptic is the root of the sun as it passes through Sagittarius, and it illuminates the head, the higher consciousness of the archer. This is important as it energizes and galvanizes the higher centers in man, which makes Sagittarius ready to evolve spiritually. So you see, this is why many of the Greek and the Roman heroes spend their earlier years with Chiron, the centaur, to learn to rule over their carnal and physical desires, to take hold of the divine will I am. Where does Sagittarius aim his arrow in the night sky? We can see in the images below, the arrow is directed, or the spiritual will I am, is directed and aimed at Scorpio, lust, the lower mind. Judas Iscariot is often seen as Scorpio, as he is depicted as the 8th character from the left in the Last Supper, painted by Da Vinci. And Scorpio rules the 8th house of the natal chart. So it is very significant that the arrow is pointing to the sign Scorpio, with the capability of intense emotional lower energy. Although, as we know, Scorpio in their highest expression soars spiritually as the eagle. Now, if you've seen my previous video, you'll see that Sagittarius is a positive sign and Scorpio is a negative. And we see that being played out in the story of the heavens. Remember, it is the Scorpio who kills the ego of Orion. So, it's very important how we understand the stories of the 12 houses and how they relate to the human anatomy and our consciousness. So, where were we? Psalm 64 verse 7. But God shall shoot at them with an arrow, suddenly shall they be wounded. God is shooting arrows at the thoughts that pull us down into that lower mind. He uses the power of the Spirit through His grace to do this, and it is written in the stories in the heavens, in the animalistic nature and the nature of the upper man. The 3 deacons of Sagittarius, Lyra the harp, the first deacon of Sagittarius. In Greek mythology, when Apollo played the harp, all things in this earth, on this realm, were in harmony. Now the harp sits at the very top of the North Celestial Pole. Apollo has been known as the god of the sun, among other titles, and so when the sun is passing through the harp, through the northern part of the ecliptic, through Sagittarius, there is harmony as man's upper consciousness is fully illuminated. And so the Apollo, the god Apollo, the sun god, is at peace and making beautiful music to the soul of man. In scripture, musical instruments equal harmony. So, when we are aiming our arrows, Sagittarius is firing arrows. So when we are aiming our arrows, the will I am, to the higher realms of the spirit Apollo, he's sitting there playing his lyre within us, and all harmony is within us, within ourselves. In this way, we can see a relevance of these ancient myths, these stories, to us today, and how our ancestors seen it. This verse combines the first 2 deacons of Sagittarius. I'm trying to show from the Bible how these verses are there but have been misunderstood. Psalm 43 verse 4. Then will I go unto the altar of God. The altar? Unto God my exceeding joy, yea, upon the harp will I praise thee, O God, my God. Vega, the brightest star in Lyra, means he shall be exalted. Exalted means to be raised, and music is something that does that to us all. Well, most of us. Music is an inner sound current that when meditated upon has the power to raise the consciousness in the temporal lobe and the amygdala and the entire hippocampus and in the entire consciousness of man. Psalm 21:12. Therefore shalt thou make them turn their back when thou shalt make ready thine arrows upon thy strings against the face of them. Arrows and strings equals again a reference to Sagittarius and to Lyra the harp. The close-up image of Lyra in this post shows how our ancestors perceived that constellation as an eagle with a lyre or a harp in its beak. Isaiah 40 verse 31 then makes more sense. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with the wings of eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. Bear in mind that Scorpio, which Sagittarius is shooting his arrows at, is often seen as an eagle, as well as the Scorpio. The eagle soars to the altar, which is the next deacon, the next star up there. In summary, we have the man, higher nature, coming out of his animal nature, the horse, the hippocampus, the lower mind, and aiming his spiritual will at the lower desires, the dragon. The music or harmony lyre created by being in the spiritual, by being in the spiritual, allows the man to soar as an eagle, leaving that scorpion sting, that lower creature, but instead raising up into what scorpion is sometimes seen as the eagle. But also the eagle is sitting on Lyra, on the harp. So it's twofold, in the upper and in the ecliptic realm. In summary, we've said this before, in summary we have the man, the higher nature, coming out of his animalistic nature, the horse, and aiming his spiritual will at the lower desires, which of course is the third deacon, the dragon. The music or the harmony of the lyre, the harp, created by the being in the spiritual, allows the man or the being, the spirit, to soar up to Lyra, the eagle. The second deacon is Ara, the altar, the second deacon of Sagittarius. One thing to notice is that the altar is upside down in the sky as we see it. This represents the spiritual fire being directed towards the earth at certain times throughout the year. In personal terms, it represents the spiritual fire we experience in meditation, as it purges us of our sins, of our ignorance of these things, of God, of karma, and the lower desires. This is reached as the fourth stage of consciousness. In the Gospels, John said, I can baptize in water, but one will come who baptized with fire. This fire is also talked about in the verse below, in Revelation 20 verse 9. And they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about. And the beloved city and the fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. Devoured them? Wow. That doesn't sound like a great God. Or is that what it means? Or is that what it means? What does it mean by devour? Beloved city equals the higher mind, the North Celestial Pole, and the things of the upper realm. Heaven is the spiritual realms and the celestial realm above us. Devoured them. It's talking about devouring the lower thoughts, our attachments to the carnal and the material and the corporate world. Draco, which of course is the serpent of the corporate world based in London. Draco the dragon cast down, which is the third deacon of Sagittarius. As I said at the beginning, each of the houses have 3 deacons, and they all play a part in the story, which we need to get our heads around. The dragon itself represents our inner fears. It is also mentioned many times in the book of Revelation. Again, it's misunderstood. Revelation 12 verse 9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and the Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. In reality, the dragon is seen upside down in the sky too, most of the year. The verse above relates the dragon to the serpent, to the Hasatan, to the lower mind and the desires of the lower man, the lower being. Thuban, the brightest star in the Draco constellation, is a nautical star. It was used by the ancients as a navigational pole or polar star. Thuban itself, the word means subtle, and this implies that although the emotions are like a raging sea, like a coiling serpent, they can come in a subtle disguise and creep up upon us, taking us away from that heavenly path. We know that Draco relates to the lower consciousness of man, to the reptilian mind, and this is tied in with the emotions in the lower part of the amygdala. Isaiah 27 verse 1. In that day, excuse me, in that day the Lord with his sore and great strong sword shall punish Leviathan the piercing serpent, even Leviathan that crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. Now it's talking about a dragon in the sea. This is also Draco, but it's also the sea creature Cetus the beast, the Leviathan, which is in the lower celestial ecliptic portion of the sky. And Cetus the beast and the Draco together are two of the 11 beasts that were created by Tiamat and Apsu according to the Babylonian tradition. The sea itself, though, in this case in an esoteric and anatomical sense, represent the emotions, and this is also seen in the next verse, and it was also seen in the heavens, in the asterisms. Excuse me. Revelation 18 verse 17. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors, as many as trade by sea, stood afar off. Our emotions can be like a raging sea, stirred by the dragon and the beast system when it is out of control. We go to our lower natures, as our own desires follow the nautical star Draco, Thuban, the bright light, but then the waves of emotion drown us. Debt, fear, all these things. In the world of bright light, of materialism, everything shines and we're attracted to it, but it brings us down. So when the dragon is cast out in Revelation 12 above, the star of Thuban and Draco no longer shines in us. So the merchants, or the lower desires which are in us, and those who control the lower desires of this world, cannot find dominion or domination over us as our consciousness is raised and that dragon energy is cast out of us. In the above verse, Revelation 18 verse 17, this is what it means when it refers to the merchants, the lower desires, standing afar off. Their power no longer controls us. And this is how we have to understand how this system works in the celestial, a political, the poles, the political, and ethereal and physical way. In summary, the summary of Sagittarius and the spiritual path, which it teaches us, is that we have the man, the higher nature, coming out of that lower realm, that animalistic, material, carnal nature, the ecliptic below Orion's belt. And Orion himself represents the ego, the fully formed man, the rebel, Nimrod, Osiris. And we see this carnal nature, the horse, aiming his spiritual energy, his will I am, his bow and arrow at the lower desires, the dragon and the beast system. The music or harmony created by being in these spiritual realms allows man to soar like an eagle. After the sacrifice on the altar, which is the star Ara, by spiritual fire and the lower nature, Draco, being cast out. I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow, and he was given a crown. And he rode out as a conqueror, bent on conquest. Revelation 6, verse 2. Much love, keep shining, stay sovereign, and don't forget to look up stuff. The Bible or the Gospel was written in the heavens long before it made it to scrolls, parchments or books. So don't let them steal your crown, your thunder, or anything else with any of their modern, religious, controlling mechanisms, which are all bullshit. Much love, keep shining. Don't forget to look up stuff. I win.